Good evening, everyone. So glad that you could join me again this evening in the Wellbeing Cafe. It's that space where you can think well, live well, and be well. And I'm really, as they say in the modern vernacular, I'm super excited about tonight's conversation because this could be the missing piece. This could be the critical piece, the missing link that perhaps our forefathers and those who've gone on before actually knew these secrets. And I think tonight we're going to explore that age-old concept of sound and frequencies and the positive effects that it can have on your body and your mental health. And if you are like most people, I know that our mental health has been challenged over the last year because of this pandemic. But beyond the pandemic, there are life challenges. There's life episodes that cause us to feel anxious, to feel frustrated, to experience grief, loss, or defeat. And so we're going to explore tonight how we can use particular frequencies to help rebalance the body, to connect the mind and the spirit and the soul and everything together so that we function more optimally. Now, I'm going to need your participation as we go into this session tonight, because I want to hear your stories. I want to know if there's anyone who's understanding what we're trying to share and who may have actually utilized those things. It's great to see so many of my friends. I'm one of those guys who's got a lot of best friends. I've got a lot of best friends, and I see Luke as one of my best friends, and I see Trevor McKinley. Do you know how hard it is to get Trevor to come on in a session like this? Like, Trevor's here, man. He's one of my best friends, but they're also great curators of music. They understand sound and frequency. So I'm going to pull on these guys and everyone else in the room. I know Lurleen's in here, and she's pitch perfect. So it's going to be an exciting conversation tonight. I hope everyone's well. And remember this, we don't want to break anyone down. We don't want to feel as if we're being prescriptive. As a matter of fact, this is peer learning. We're going to learn from each other tonight. And it's hopefully something you can take away and practice tonight. You can practice it tonight. You know, some of you are stressed. Let's face it. Some of you are anxious. Some of you are suffering with depression. Some of you are actually just challenged with life and its episodes. And if we can help you to think well, live well, and be well because of this simple practice of sound and the positive effects that frequencies, particular frequencies, can have on your being, then it's worthwhile doing, right? The only other disclaimer I want to say is that I'm not acting in the role of a GP. This is just supplementary support. If you are taking medicines, I'm not telling you to stop taking your medicines and that these frequencies are going to heal you on their own. No, we're going to explore some alternatives. And if it works for you and we can experiment in a safe and a wise way, then that's what we're going to do. Wow, we've got Lorene Cato in the building as well. Lorene Cato, MBE. It's great to have Lorene, one of the best singers in the business. So wow, we're on our best behavior tonight because we can be challenged. Joseph, I hope you're ready. It will be fun.
I've literally moved heaven and earth to be with you this evening, but I'm just about ready.
Oh, fantastic.
Forgive me, guys.
Join me, Joseph.
Forgive me. You know, the joys of being on a mountain, I tell you.
Right. Well, Joseph, seeing as you started, let's have that conversation. Tell us who you are and where you are at.
All right. So I think the first thing I was actually saying was thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this environment, because I'm amongst greatness, number one. Number two, I love the work that you're doing, Mike. I didn't understand that there were even entities out there like this, and the work that you're doing is invaluable, not just for your immediate community, but for the world. We need you. We need people like you doing what you're doing because you're a visionary. You've seen it way before it was even necessary. But now we're at a point now in history, you know, whereby this is needed. Well-being, mental, physical, spiritual well-being is needed. You know, no disrespect to anybody in here who is church related, but, you know, I have been in that environment, and a lot of the stuff that you're doing is what some of the churches should have been doing. But, you know, they were too focused on religiosity, you know, to really dig deep and give people what they need, practical elements, wisdom, practical elements that you can apply to your life to live a better life. You know, so I commend you for what you're doing, and I love it. And thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you.
That's okay.
You're in Portugal.
I am in Portugal. I am in Portugal. People are like, oh, why are you in Portugal, Joseph? Honestly, do you want to know the honest truth?
Go on.
God told me.
Okay.
God said, Joseph, go to Portugal. And when I say that to you, this is what I mean, guys. On November the 2nd, God said, you know what? You need to go to Portugal. By November the 5th, I was on a plane getting to Portugal. And it's literally as simple as that. And it was one of the best decisions that I've made in a very, very long time. Again, all things work together for those who love the Lord. So he had made things work so that I was able to do that. Because obviously we've got families, you know, we've got businesses, we've got, you know, lots of different types of commitments. But the truth of the matter is I had to go where I was being called. So that's the reason why I'm here. I then found out things like, you know, Portugal's the safest country in the whole of Europe and 4th safest country in the world, which is great, you know. But yeah, I'm literally here doing business, living the Sabbath rest, which is something that I never even understood what it was until coming out here, and really connecting with people, making real connections with amazing people like you, Mike, like Luke, you know, and like other people. And I think one of the things for me is I've always been an inquisitive mind. I'm just a young guy from South London, right? So there's nothing special about me, and what I've achieved and the things that I've done. Anybody can do them. You just have to have access to the information, and that's the most important thing. In terms of my background, I feel like I've lived many lifetimes. If you want to know my early background, I was a dancer. So I danced professionally for about 11 years, from about 11 to just under 11 years, 11 till about 2021. And that opened up lots of different avenues. So with dancing, I was involved in music. With music, I was involved in entertainment in terms of promotion, and done things at very different levels. So if you understand from a dancing point of view, we're doing things like the Generation Game, if you remember that, which was Bruce Forsyth. We were doing things like Top of the Pops. We were doing Radio 1 roadshow tours. And when you're a young man and you are from the hood and from the ghetto, and you're suddenly being whisked away by a chauffeur-driven car to, you know, BBC, you know, it changes your perspective. It shapes you. It gives you a little bit of a peek into another way of life. And I come back to the hood where my friends were on the street doing wrong things. And to be honest with you, there was nothing different between me and them. It's just that I had an outlet. You know, I was blessed enough to have a specific outlet, and that opened up my mindset. It opened up lots of different opportunities. I began managing artists. We began showcasing artists to record labels. So I've done the whole plethora when it comes to music, because I love music. I love music. So my first degree was in media studies. I saw my way through university through promotion. So I don't know if we had any ravers in the room, right? But I was what you call resident promotion at a club called Propaganda. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It's in Wardour. It was on Wardour Street. It was then turned to Peter Stringfellow's Club. So we used to do different events. We used to do Café de Paris on a Saturday. We used to do Mayfair Club. We done loads of different club nights. And I paid my way through university through doing club nights. But the thing about club nights, which was amazing, is people. The common denominator in all of these environments is people. And when you are good with people, when you're real, when you're genuine, you win friendships, and opportunities open up for you. So I done that for a long period of time. I also was a presenter. So at a time when television wasn't the same way it is now, but we had things like Trouble Television and Flex Tech TV and LW London Weekend Television. I'm giving my age away. I had done a few things for a TV program called Nightlife. I don't know if you remember it. No. It used to be on at the same time as TGI Fridays, long time ago anyway. But again, these early experiences just shaped who I became. Okay, that's the truth. And I failed again and again and again, and I failed my way to where I'm at now. That's the truth.
Wow. Joseph. So Joseph, let me ask you this question. How did you get into sound and frequencies? And what made you dig into I'm going to let you introduce it, the solfeggio frequencies, etc.
Solfeggio frequencies.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
It's an interesting one. My background is property. I'm also involved in luxury, where we own a platform. And one of the things that I've been blessed with is to be around very, very just amazing people. Okay, that's the common denominator. It's amazing people. So whether these people are billionaires or millionaires, one of the things that I looked at is optimum performance. Now, when I say optimum performance, I mean, we all have the same 1,440, minutes in 24 hours, right? But everybody uses those minutes very, very differently. So I think the first thing for me was I was around certain types of people who really focused on different things than everybody else. And when you're sitting down speaking to a billionaire and he's saying that he's going to spend 6 months on a mountain, sitting down speaking to Tibetan monks, you're kind of thinking, hold on a second, you've got all this money and you're about to do that? So it makes you kind of perk up. You start to listen to different things. And one of the things that they spoke about is, number one, it was food. Number two was your environment and the way that that environment was shaped. And there were other things in that environment that were intangible, that you couldn't really see, you couldn't really touch, but they had a massive impact on you. And it's down to our senses. I mean, we touch upon it in our group, on a daily basis. But one of these things was to do with our senses and sound. And as I'm sure there's a lot of musicians around us. We understand the power of music, but we need to understand the power of music on purpose. As Black people, we're very, very in tune to all our creative sides. We understand how to create. We can create magic, but we don't understand why the magic is created. So for me, I wanted to discover certain things on purpose. So how this journey began was really by watching amazing people who had access to everything. They didn't have the same problems that we had, like, money, how am I going to pay my mortgage, blah, 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 blah. They were sitting down thinking, okay, well, what jet shall I buy next? And the things that they were focused on were things that we kind of took for granted. So I think that's what really opened up my thought process to, okay, how do I live a more optimum kind of lifestyle, and what are the things in my lifestyle that can help enhance that lifestyle? And that's kind of how I came to discover solfeggio frequencies.
Right. So that's fantastic. It goes to show that the things we are searching for are not necessarily what the people who've got the things we are looking for are searching for. And that's powerful. So tell us a bit about the solfeggio frequencies. What are they? And is it a bunch of mumbo jumbo, or are they really real? Tell us a bit about what you know about them, Joseph.
Okay. Well, solfeggio frequencies have existed for a long period of time. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, the common understanding is that everything on the planet resonates at a certain frequency. So whether you're sitting down and talking about the phone that's right in front of you, whether you're talking about you as a person, as an individual, we all resonate at a certain frequency. Now, again, musicians in the room, I'm going to give you a little example. You'll be able to relate to this. You've probably all seen the trick where somebody sings into a champagne glass and they break the champagne glass, right? Okay, so the science behind that is this. The champagne glass is vibrating at a certain frequency. Okay, so as my hand is, I'm doing this as an example, yeah? So it's vibrating at a certain frequency, and then along comes Mariah Carey, who hits this note. And as she hits the note, what she's doing is she's singing, and she is matching the same frequency as the glass. And at the point that she matches the frequency, the glass smashes. Right? Now, it's a very visual, very visual example. But the way that it works is that everything around us is vibrating at a frequency. Because everything around us is vibrating at a frequency, it means that if you begin to understand those frequencies, you can impact how things operate. Now, from solfeggio frequencies, there are over 9 solfeggio frequencies. And the idea about these frequencies is they govern specific parts of your being, specific parts of your anatomy from a physical standpoint, from your spiritual structure and your soul, okay? Now, again, the reason why a lot of people run away from this kind of thing is because a lot of doctrine focus on solfeggio frequencies, and chakras are usually connected to, Hinduism and Buddhism and all of these other doctrines that if you're a Christian and if you have a specific religious mindset, you kind of run away from it and be like, no, I'm not really interested. But the truth of the matter is it works. The truth of the matter is there is wisdom and there's real technology within it it goes beyond your religious belief. As an example, you may be a Christian, but do you believe in gravity? Because I know whether you believe in gravity or not, if you jump off a building, gravity is going to grab you. So it's the same thing with solfeggio frequencies. These are things that really, really play an impact. They play a part in everything that we do. So as an example, I think it was Luke who shared in the room previously, Stalin, Hitler, there are a few people who understood frequency, but they wanted to manipulate it and use it for bad purposes, okay? So you've got things like tuning forks. I don't know if you've ever seen, there was an experiment that I saw where there was a gentleman who had a tuning fork. They pitched to a certain frequency. I can't remember what the frequency was. And they pointed it, but amplified it and pointed it at people. And it forced those people to throw up. Have you ever seen that before, Mike?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So these are things that affect you whether you like it or not. You don't have to believe in it. It still has an impact, okay? So you've got frequencies that range from low frequencies like 174, which really are grounding frequencies, and range up to 968, which is a frequency which is a much higher frequency, which connects to your, the spiritual realm, so to speak. And they have an impact. Now, one of the things that I wanted to know, Mike, is I wanted to know what kind of impact do they have? Because you can go and you can do your research and you can read and, but I wanted to know, how does this actually work? So we decided to conduct an official experiment, a social experiment. So we've got about 30 people in the group, okay? And this is our second week. And what we've done is we have given guidance and information specifically on specific frequencies and what they assist and help with. And Mike, I've been blown away by the results. Like when I say blown away, I mean, given the current climate is one of, unfortunately, it's a lot of doom and gloom around. People who are furloughed, they're losing their jobs, people worried about money. There's a lot of anxiety and angst around us. Now, with the group that we have, we've got 30 people in that group. And I am getting bombarded every single day with people saying, look, thank you so much. Thank you. This has had an impact here. This has helped me release guilt. This has helped me, take away certain types of pain. This has helped me feel a lot better. This has helped me with my job, my job prospects. So what we've realized very, very quickly is that it has an impact. Solfeggio frequencies definitely have an impact. Every single frequency will impact different people in many, many different ways. But I'm going to give you an example very quickly, Mike, before I stop. 528. Have you heard of that frequency? Right. Now that frequency is referred to as the God tone. Okay. So when you do your research on it, you will hear 528 is the frequency that is referred to as the God tone. Now I sent a link out to our group, just having a conversation and showing them a little bit about what has pre-existed before we've stumbled across solfeggio frequencies. Okay. Now, John Lennon, we all know John Lennon from the Beatles, right? He wrote a song called Imagine. Now, some people like that song, some people don't like that song. But the truth of the matter about that song is he was doing something with that song that was about to change the planet. And there are a few, if you Google it, if you go online and you do a little bit of research, the general consensus was he was killed because of this. Okay. Now, 528 as a frequency is called the God frequency because it has the power to adjust things on a molecular level. Okay. Now, in 1999, early 2000, there was a massive oil spill in the Atlantic Ocean. It was huge, okay? And it was catastrophic. It was about to wipe out so much marine life. And there's a guy, it escapes me now, but I will give you the name a little bit later on, Mike, for you to circulate to the room. But he understood about frequency. And he developed a little bit of technology that would apply 528 as a frequency and allow it to be amplified through water and through liquids. And he applied that frequency to where the oil was spilled. And in less than a week, the oil spill had disappeared. Now, again, guys, this is stuff that is documented. It is written about. So this is not, again, this is not about, you know, what I'm saying. Okay, I'm coming on board as somebody who's supposed to know a little bit about it. What I know is what I've researched and what I've experienced. But what I encourage you guys to do is experience it for yourself. Yeah. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Go and do your research. Begin to understand it, because everybody needs a little bit of a helping hand. Yeah. If you have a little bit of a helping hand tomorrow on feeling a little bit better when you get out of bed, having a little bit more energy, you know, being a little less, feeling a little less guilty for some of the things that you may have done that are hiding in your psyche, you know, having a little less stress in terms of your mental pressure, wouldn't you appreciate it? Wouldn't you invite that in? Exactly. And that's what solfeggio frequencies can begin to help do. So we're doing something where we're taking what we call sound baths. Right. Now, again, it's a little bit more science, but we as human beings are made up of more than 80% water. Is that agreed? That's the general consensus, right? Definitely. Okay. Now, there's a few interesting things about water that when you begin to study it, it will become apparent. Number one, water has memory. Yes, water has memory. Now, that blew my mind the first time I heard it, because what does that mean? That means that, hold on a second. So from the beginning of time, when water was created, there's actual energy and information in the water that you can tap. Anyway, that's another story for another day, right? But number one, you know, water has memory. Number two, as we said, we're made up of majority of water. Now, I'm sure you've walked into an environment where you feel, you know what, you might have come across somebody and you feel, oh, you know, I like his energy, you know, oh, I like his vibe. There's something about that guy or there's something about that girl that I like, right? Or the opposite, where you come into an environment, you're like, oof, don't want to know. Whatever you're selling, keep it to yourself. Don't want to know. This is to do with your water. Now, again, in our language, you'll say, yeah, I feel it in my waters, you know, I feel it in my water. You've heard people say things before, but there's a lot of fact to it. Because we are made up of water, we are resonating at a certain frequency. And sometimes when you come across somebody who is part of your tribe, somebody who is, you know, who you can potentially connect with, it's because they're vibrating at a similar frequency to you. Now, the other thing when it comes to water is an amplifier. So there's something called the Japanese water experiment. When you get a chance, please look it up. This experiment was phenomenal. And there's a lot of documented information about it. What they realized was that water, number one, has memory, but number two, it can be charged with intention, and you can utilize frequency to amplify. So The way that this was done, they did this with a few things. They did it, number one, with words. So words like love, words like gratitude. When water is frozen, it takes on board its frozen state where it takes on board little shapes like snowflakes. You've seen snowflakes before, and they look quite pretty, right? Okay. So in the conversation and in the experiment, they spoke and subjected the water molecules to words like love. And what happened was beautiful shapes were created. Okay, beautiful shapes were created. Now, they done the opposite, whereby they subjected words like hate and evil and kill. And again, horrible shapes were created. So the water took on board the shapes that, and this is a combination of a couple of things. It's to do with intention. Okay. In addition to intention, it's to do with tone, tonality, and frequency. So it's not just one thing. Okay. Now, in addition to that, one of the things that he did is he subjected the water to different types of music. So when I was in university, a lot of the time I'd listen to maybe Mozart or Vivaldi to concentrate, to focus. I didn't realize that there was method to my madness. Vivaldi and Mozart is tuned to 5 to 8 hertz. So it allows you to concentrate, to focus. Who goes to the gym? Most of us go to the gym, right? Who's listened to the Rocky motif, you know, the theme tune. When you listen to that, it does something to you. Blatantly, it does something to you. Some of the time I'd be sitting down and I want to pump some weights in the gym. I'll go and put on some 50 Cent and I'm dead. I'm doing it. That is not coincidental, guys. It's frequency, it's sound, it has an impact, you know. So, you know, the stuff we're sitting down having a conversation about right now, it is very, very real. It's as real as you and me. It's just a case of whether you want to be affected by it because you're affected by it, because you are going to be, or whether you want to do it on purpose. Right. Whether you want to be a bit more purposeful on how you're being impacted by frequency, because it's everywhere you go. You can't get away from it.
Fantastic. Joseph, that is phenomenal. And I know we're just, remember I said at the beginning, I put a disclaimer out to say we can talk about this for another 2 weeks, and we've only got an hour, which is unfortunate because we're just giving just headlines. And what you've said to us, Joseph, has really caused us to think. I know that 5 to 8 frequency also helps with DNA repair. It's a powerful tool to help you in your restorative process. And so when you think about it, how many of us could do with some DNA repair? I don't care if you're coming from the slave trade. He said he's talking about his headline, his hairline. Look, we get infected and affected by environments. We don't know what damage the coronavirus has done to our DNA. Maybe it's a good time to utilize 5 to 8 frequencies. And a bit later on, I'm going to ask Joseph to help us in how we can apply those frequencies to move the water structures that are within us. I've got 27 minutes. This is having a laugh, right? 27 minutes. And we've got so much to go through. Let's look at 440. Luke, good evening to you, sir. Please help us with what 440 is, and does it matter? What's it all about? Who cares? Tell us a bit about 440 and what you know compared to 432.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Mike.
Hey, Luke.
Joseph, good evening, sir. I see Trevor in the audience, and Steve and Lorene and a few other people. 440. 440 is what we know as industry standard of where we are tuned to musically, and what that represents is, if for those that can remember, when you're tuning the piano, you get a tuning fork, and that tuning fork frequency set to 440, and what that means is it's 440 cycles per second. Yeah, that's how they measure the frequency. Now, the strange thing is 440 was not the original intended frequency that we used to be on. We used to be on 432. And basically, the way it works is that the Earth resonates on a frequency of 8 hertz, and 432 was the frequency that nature, everything that you hear operates at 432. What happened in the 1930s, it was discovered by the Rockefeller family that sound could be used as a weapon of warfare. So what they tried to do, they tried to implement changing the frequency using a technology called FM, frequency modulation. What happened, I mean, some of you guys that know about DX7, FM frequency modulation, that's where that's coming from. What happened was it didn't take off at that point, but in the mid 50s in World War II, Hitler implemented it. And what he did was he'd use it in the concentration camps. And what he would do is he would play music at 440 hertz for long periods of time to the prisoners. And what it would do, it would torture the prisoners. Not long after, a couple of years later, when the war was over, somehow, I don't know how, but they've managed to standardize 440 across the world. There was a treaty signed that 440 became the frequency. So what's happening now is we're listening to music in a chaotic frequency. So that frequency now, it's jarring the body, it's jarring our ears, it's jarring our creativity. So that's where we are with 440 now. That's now so like what Joseph was saying, a lot of those classical composers didn't tune to 440. That wasn't known. They tuned to 432 or other tunings. It was later when 440 came in from the 1950s onwards.
It's fascinating, Luke. And the answer is part of what we tune in. We say 97.3 FM. The frequency modulation. We listen to LBC and we believe it. Now, quick question, because I know there's so many respectable artists. Here's one. I love this concept that there's a Loreen and a Lorraine Cato in the sessions tonight.
Oh wow, you got the two of them.
Hey, woo, brilliant! I'm so glad that you both are here, and both exceptional singers, and they help people. Now, Luke, just a quick question: is most pop music in 440?
Yeah, well, everything's in 440.
Right.
Probably 95%. Only a few people that will change their tuning. But as well, we have memory. So what happens is, because we listen to it at 440, if you hear something at 432, you might think that might sound a bit strange because you're not used to it.
Yeah. So ultimately, there could be some, I don't want to use the word subliminal, but there could be some meta music taking place that could be having an effect.
There is definitely subliminal. There is definitely subliminal.
That's right, Joseph.
I'm trying to do some peer learning today. I'm not.
No, he's right. He's right.
Yeah, right. So we have to then be a bit more conscientious about what we're listening to, especially, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're in that season of lockdown. And sometimes we say, all right, let's put on some music and we can dance to it, or we can listen to it in our shower, we can listen to it in the gym, or as we're walking and running and whatever else. But we also, following on from today's session, need to be a bit more deliberate about what we're listening to. Now, Trevor, good evening to you. Trevor is an amazing bass player, and bass is one of my favorite instruments. It just resonates at a particular, in a particular way that affects me. When I was younger, I used to listen to a lot of reggae music, right? And when the guys dropped the B string, or back then if you had 4-string and you had the E string and you're dropping it bottom end, it was lovely. What did it do for me? I don't know, but it charged me. Trevor, have you noticed the impact of music on people in a positive way? Or have you ever, here's a better question, have you ever felt that the music that you've been playing could potentially be having a damaging effect, even though you may have been playing for a major artist? Have you ever observed the impact of your music on the crowd?
A very good question, Mike, to ask me. I remember having a very surreal moment back in about 98 when I got called to do Harlem. And it was the first time I ever played with in-ear monitoring. I hadn't come from that, and I gave them a massive sort of entourage of what I wanted as backline. And when I turned up there, we were all on in-ears monitoring. I was standing on a sub platform with a sub underneath it, very personalized for 6 months. And we played in an arena somewhere in like Hamburg and all of that. And I had the Lakeland, I had my new bass, and I was just trying to get myself around frequencies, because we're talking about that. And I remember setting the bass up in a certain place once I got used to it. And I can't remember when it was in the show, but every time I hit certain notes down the neck, so it was a bit more higher up, so it wasn't so in the real low gully notes, but it was more around sort of the middle, sort of around the 7th to 8th fret, around there somewhere. And I hit a certain note and I could look out in the audience because the lights are up, and I would destroy them. And that was the first kind of real experience that I had of where certain notes that I would play could cause an adverse effect. As much as, and that's why I do say to young players, if they do talk about playing and stuff like that, I say, be careful how you handle your instrument, especially as bass players. It's a dangerous piece of instrument to have, because I know I saw carnage, and every time I hit that note, I destroyed it. There was certain notes I hear destroyed the room. So I've personally felt that, you know what I mean, of that, wow, this thing, it was like when you touch something and it's hot, you let your hands go, you know what I mean? The responsibility that you have with your instruments, what you do in the studio is one thing. When you can transfer that wavelength through amplification and sound waves to get it out there between higher amplification, you hit certain notes, it will cause a real adverse effect, whether in the belly, in your soul, in your spirit. It will cause all kinds of things. So I have experienced that, if I answer your question.
Wow, Trevor. It's fascinating. And obviously it goes beyond music, just theory, to a musical experience. And someone could understand music and copy a sound or play a particular piece, but not necessarily observe.
But can I say this, Mike? The responsibility then is given to all of us, whether we're singers. Now Lorraine's in the room, and her sister, and those who are singers and stuff like. But then I had to change my position in terms of my responsibility as a professional player in terms of being on that platform. It made me change my position in terms of, because I was first getting affected first.
Right.
It was destroying me. Because it destroyed me, then I realized that it was going out there. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I had to be very careful about and be very responsible how I played my instrument. So I looked at the way I played my instrument a lot differently after that particular point. And it wasn't just having something that I like doing as a living and getting paid for it. It was realizing that I have a responsibility to work out what are the notes that are harmful and dangerous.
Wow.
Which are hurting people, but which notes are actually bringing joy.
Brilliant. That's responsibility, Trevor, and that's maturity.
Yeah, I had to take that on. It wasn't just about going in and destroying the room, you know what I mean? It was about actually people going away feeling not distressed.
Right.
Can I just very quickly say this?
Go ahead.
The biggest experience I've ever had of this, and it's very interesting, and I know we're with time, is when I met Abraham Laboriel. Bang. That's it. Met Abraham Laboriel when he came over with the Winans Farewell Tour. And I remember being on stage with him, just helping him out. You know what I mean? I was with a company that he was with, and I was serving him. I was a servant. He came on, and we just finished doing Ron Canoli's European tour, and he's the guy that wrote that stuff. And then when you hear stuff on record, and then you actually go, and I remember standing on stage with him. He had no amplification. Hear me, people. All he had was monitors. Some of you heard this story. A monitor to the left and a monitor to the right, no amplification. The question was asked, I asked Abraham Laborio, who's played on some of the greatest records, Michael Jackson, you name them, whole of them. Abraham, where is your amplification? You know what Abraham Laborio said to me? I don't want to hurt them. I didn't understand that. He said, I don't want to hurt them. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if everybody wants to get me, they can get me in their monitors. The truth of the matter was, when he was playing, I couldn't hear anything. But when you watch his body language, he was in another atmosphere. I walked off stage and went to the back of the room and stood by the engineer, and he destroyed me.
Because I find it fascinating, right? When you're speaking about playing bass, you're operating that between 50 to 60 hertz up to about 250 hertz.
There you go.
Okay. Now, that bass tone, if you understand what it does to the body, it's frequency that can actually promote illness in your body.
That's right. Your kidneys and all them things there. Yeah.
That's right. It also affects animals, guys. Animals are massive indicators when it comes to frequency. That's why you hear about dog whistles, that high frequency, that high tone, because again, human beings only hear up to
20 kilohertz.
20 kilohertz, 20,000 hertz. Okay, so between 20 hertz and 2 kilohertz. So there's certain things that are around us that have an impact on us that we can't even really hear.
I'm going to share some frequencies, just to give you a bit of an idea of some of the solfeggio frequencies that Joseph has introduced us to. He's talked already about 5 to 8, and we understand that it's a divine frequency. It helps with the DNA restoration, and you could only need to listen to it for maybe 5 minutes a day, and it will have a profound effect on your life. I'm going to quickly run through 396 hertz. So music tuned to 396 helps remove subconscious fears.
Fear and negative feelings. Fear and negative feelings. Yes.
Now, how many of us, let's be honest, just give me a thumbs up, could do with removing some negative fears and bad feelings right now in this corona season? We all could, right? 396 is a good one to listen to. Yeah, it helps with your negative beliefs. We've had so much negative press and stuff on Instagram and WhatsApp and the news even, and our belief system has been compromised in an awkward way. 396 can help you. I'm going to quickly run through 639. Listen to what this one does. This frequency helps balance emotions. How many of us need our emotions balanced? I do. Right. It helps us with our emotions, and it helps elevate our mood. If you're feeling down, 639 can help you.
Positive feelings.
Positive feelings. It helps with your communication, love and understanding, and brings harmony.
Interpersonal relationships as well.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that seems to have been compromised during lockdown, this interpersonal relationship. We're only connecting on Zoom right now, but it doesn't mean we can't have an interpersonal relationship. If you're finding yourself being insular, isolated, or lonely, maybe listen to some 639. I'm going to bring Joseph back in a bit. He's going to tell us how we can do this. 741, that's another magical number.
Powerful.
This one helps you with your problem solving.
That's right.
It helps cleanse the body and helps you with your self-expression. Many people have been taught to deny themselves. I do not agree with that. I do not agree with denying yourself. I think self is such an important... Self is who you are. What we need to do is manage self. And one of the things that we need to do with help with that restorative process could be to listen to frequency 741. It helps you with your self-expression. Lockdown will be over, hopefully, on June the 21st. What is your expression? What's your manifestation? Who are you going to be walking down the street? If you want to help yourself with some positive affirmations, maybe with your positivity mantra or anything like that, 741 is what you need. And Joseph did say this quite clearly, that different frequencies help respond differently to people. Right,
Definitely.
exactly.
Definitely.
And I'm going to give you one more, which is another powerful one. It's 852.
Food.
There's ever a time you need this one, it's now. And this frequency helps replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Now, listen, in no way, shape, or form am I denying the experience of coronavirus or COVID-19 20 or 21, because I, as I've said before, have experienced loss. But if ever a time we need to replace negative thoughts with positive ones, is now.
It helps with overthinking, okay? It also helps you with intrusive thoughts. So if you've ever had you felt like your mind is running away with different types of thoughts, it helps to just focus and take away negative thought patterns. So it's a very, very interesting frequency. It also helps to reduce depression and anxiety. So this actually affects the cortisol levels in your body, this frequency. So there's a physical manifestation with this frequency.
It's fascinating. Well, I tell you what, I want to also bring in two friends of mine, Lorene and Lorraine. Both have sang at the highest level. Have you noticed? Let me go to Lorene Cato, MBE first. I've known Lorene for years and years. I won't say how long because it will give away our age, but a long time. And Lorene, you've performed great stadium. Have you ever noticed the power of sound and frequencies? And is there a discipline that you perform when you need to feel better about life?
You know, I love this subject so much. Hi, everybody, by the way.
Greetings.
This I actually know what I'm doing when I sing. And what I mean is I know what sounds to make that will draw certain spirits out of people. What people don't know, and even though I've known Luke for years and you guys for years, I get sent into certain prisons to sing. And there's a certain person, there's a few people that when they get me in, they put me on last because it's almost like, this is it now. And they put me on last, and sometimes I get sent to prisons that are on islands, and they give me the notorious men that when they've tried programs with them, it has failed constantly. So they get me in to share my story, and I have a certain tone when I share my story. And then when I sing, I know exactly what I do in the song at certain points in the song with certain words that I know they start to break. And every time I do that, you see them breaking and crying. And they've never been able to shift those men from where they are until I come in.
Wow.
And I go to prisons all over the place.
Are you aware? Sorry, Lorraine. Are you aware of the frequency you're using?
Now, I don't understand. I never knew like the 852 and the all the 741s. I never knew, but I understood the atmosphere. Right. And even understood, I mean, of course, you know, I'm a Christian, so I'm always listening to the Holy Spirit as well, because if anyone knows about frequency, it's God. right? So I understand that sometimes I might have a plan for a song, but then I read the atmosphere in the room, and then I change the song if it's necessary. But I've never understood all those. But now, my God, watch me.
Right. So it's fascinating. Thank you, Lorene. And I've heard firsthand how you have amplified the room and changed it. And no joke. So what we're trying to do now is add value to your gift by giving some information that can sharpen it. And then in particular settings what to do. If you go into a hospital and people are feeling ill, then perhaps you run in that particular frequency. But Elle, tell me about your experience with music and what you potentially do to tune the room or tune your own life.
Sorry, hi everyone. I was about to go straight in, you know.
Hey, Elle.
Hey guys, my last album I titled I Am. And at the time when I titled it I Am, I didn't understand why I gave it that name. I just gave it that name. Obviously something was speaking to me. And then after a while, I learned to do affirmations. So everything that comes after the word I am, I kind of spoke words onto my life, if you get what I mean. So I go with this mantra that your word is your wand. So you speak everything into existence. So frequency wise, personally, I always try and stay on like a high kind of vibrations. I don't know if you've all seen my dancing videos in the morning, but to activate my high, I do like 10 minutes dancing and dance to some good old either soca or calypso or something that my parents have, raised me on. So I do feel that music puts you on a high. Also, I was reading the other day, and this is why I tuned into this cafe today. I was reading about Prince, and you probably all mentioned this already, but Prince playing at a certain frequency that apparently was more calming to the world. Because apparently we all play at a frequency, or is it 440? Is that correct, guys?
A lot of pop music is, 440.
Yeah.
440, right?
Yeah.
And I was reading an article that said Prince plays at something totally different. That's more calming, apparently. And I was like, wow, this is just amazing. It's blowing my mind. And I was thinking, how would I be able to create an album that would be at that frequency? But then when I learned that we all play at 440, I was like, okay, well, this is going to be impossible unless you get a band to, retune everything. But no, frequency wise, I feel like I try and stay on a positive tip anyway. And when I enter a room, I kind of make sure everybody kind of rises up to my frequency. I will never go down to someone else's frequency. I try and lift everybody up. And I think that's my motto in life. So yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this frequency talk. This has been my favorite cafe.
I want to be a bit more supportive in being practical now that we're understanding these principles, and perhaps then we can say, you know what, I'm going to take a 25-minute bath tomorrow, physical bath, and play this particular type of music or sound, and see what it does to me. You know
what? I think we should definitely do that. No joke. I think that would be amazing.
Well, Joseph, I'm gonna introduce you back in because he's got a tribe that's doing this.
We've got a tribe, man. We've got a tribe. We're doing this. We're doing this on purpose.
Wicked.
We're doing it on purpose. We're doing it every single day. And guys, this is not just, you've got frequencies that will help open your pineal gland. Did you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Your pineal gland. You've got frequencies that will help you heal faster. Now, that is a frequency that I've played myself. A year and a half ago, I got a little bit ill. Not even a little bit, I got a lot ill. And I had to go through some very extensive things whereby I had to utilize certain types of herbs, certain types of plants, things like golden seal, things like red clover, things like powder arco. And one of the things that helped me is 174. The frequency 174 helps with physical healing.
Wow.
Now, I was able to heal in under 3 months when I was told I wouldn't be healed for about 12 months. Now, guys, you can see my face right now. You would never know that my face was covered in all manner of things. So this stuff is not just We're just not just talking about it. It really physically works. Now, Mike has explained, we have a tribe. It's on Instagram. I am exactly what my name says, Joseph the Dreamer. I'm a dreamer. So if you want to connect with me directly, if you go onto Instagram, type in Joseph the Dreamer, but Dreamer is spelled Dreemer. Okay, there's a lot of information on there. We have a specific group which is called, and it's hashtag #7 sound bathing. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do two things. Number one, if you want to connect with us on that, with myself and Luke, you're more than welcome to. But I'll give you some more information that you can go and research for yourself. In terms of what we're doing on a regular basis, we are doing sound bathing. Now, what we decided was through utilizing frequency with water. Water is an amplifier, okay? So we're doing two things. Number one, we drink a certain type of water every single day in our group. That is what we call energized alkaline water. So this is a combination of normal water, either distilled or filtered water, which is mixed with half a lime, squeezed, freshly squeezed, and Himalayan sea salt. I stress Himalayan because it's got a number of minerals. We also subject that water to whatever frequency we're listening to on the day. If we're listening to 369 or 174, we subject the water to that and we drink it, we consume it. In addition to that, we have showers in the morning or baths, whichever you prefer, and the frequency is played whilst you are in the bath. This is something that for me, has been an extraordinary experience. And again, we just decided to start this social experiment. The impact that it's had on people has been phenomenal. Now, some frequencies will resonate with you, other frequencies won't resonate as much. But what I'd say to you is be very aware of yourself. If you are listening to something and it doesn't sit well, take it in small doses. You've got to remember you're releasing, you are detoxing, okay? Now, this is how deep it has gotten. People have begun releasing mucus from their mouth and from their nose. Now, remember something, again, this is a scientific stance. This is a biological stance. One of the things that we understand is mucus clogs the body. Mucus stops your lymph nodes from connecting. So it creates dysfunction in the body. So releasing mucus is something which is very, very important. If anybody's followed the Dr. Sebi diet, you'll understand that mucus is a big player. So when you begin to listen to some of these frequencies, you will begin to detox.
My parents are from Jamaica, and there are places in Jamaica that is known for their water baths. There's a place called Milk River.
Milk River, yeah.
Right? And there's a place called Bath in St. Thomas. And people affectionately, deliberately go there. I've been to Milk River Bath, and effects on me, I'm wondering what's going to happen. And I tell you what, I came out there feeling like Super Mario, right? And that's natural springs and so on. You can use your Thames water. You can use your local area. Some say drink spring water rather than mineral water, etc., etc. But let's tune back into what Joseph's going to help us with, and then at least we can try it. Listen, everything that can help you to think well, live well, and be well right now during this difficult season is worth it. We're not prescribing any extra drugs or any extra medicines or anything like that. It's just water and the sound that is around us, the energy fields that is around us. And we're going to just be a bit more deliberate about what we're listening to, how we're taking our showers. So for some of you don't take showers, it's going to be difficult, but I'm joking. You know, you can jest. It's late. It's after water. It's after the watershed. But no, seriously, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to try it. All right, guys. I think this has been a good session. It's just the start. It may help reprogram some of our behaviors. It may help us to get rid of some of the guilt. Guilt is a bad thing in our lives when it's overplaying and we just can't seem to let it go. We take on our parents' guilt. We take on generational guilt. Maybe some of these frequencies can help dissipate some of that energy that's negative. It's been bottled up and we wonder why we're not functioning optimally. You could listen, money doesn't mean that you're optimal. You could be earning millions and billions. You could be in the highest seat and be very miserable. So what we're trying to do here is say, from a grassroots level, from a basic level, let's just work with genuine science. We're not going into dark spaces. We're not doing anything untoward. We're just allowing what's around us to serve us in a better way. And that, I would say, we're going to do as part of our routines as we go forward, as we look. Listen, I know most of us are looking forward to getting out of our house arrest, out of jail, out of this COVID situation. I want us to be very deliberate about what life's going to be like going forward. Now that you have a bit of time, it's a good time to practice these things. We want to do better. Remember, guys, we're going to make it through this. Yeah, it's been a tough year. And if the stuff is around us that's going to help us to think well, live well, and be well, then let us use them. And if we can get some sort of strategy on how to do it, then I think it's going to be worth it. All right? So look out for our sessions. We're on again next week. Have a restful and peaceful night. Think well, live well. Be kind to someone.